Hello everyone, and welcome back to Liberty Park Music for another piano etudes lesson. In many ways, the piano has more instrumental flexibility than almost any other instrument. To be sure, there are definitely things that we cannot do. We can't slide between notes, we can't sustain the length of notes for very long, much less crescendo into them. However, we can provide a thicker, more diverse musical texture and a more complete musical picture than pretty much any other acoustic instrument. Now, with that great power comes great responsibility, and as pianists it is our responsibility to be at least somewhat equally proficient with both of our hands. This is why so many of the exercises we end up having to do, we do with both hands. We're talking scales, arpeggios, that sort of thing. It's because we need to be able to tackle roughly equivalent challenges to present that more complete musical picture. So, to that end, for the next few lessons, we're going to be looking at a couple of pieces from Louis Köhler's Elementary Studies in Piano Playing. And what's neat about these pieces is that they're basically mirror images of one another. What you do in the right hand in one piece, you turn around and do in the left hand in the next. And it's all nicely wrapped up in the musical context of etudes. So, let's take a look at the first one. Just to reiterate, make sure you keep this score handy for the next lesson as well. That'll be Etude Opus 163, number 3. You really get the most complete learning experience out of this piece by being able to compare it to the next one. Okay, let's get our preliminary info out of the way. This is a 4/4 piece with a tempo marking of allegro and an initial dynamic marking of MP, mezzo piano. So fast but not necessarily loud, though we do kind of cone out towards the end into a forte. By this point, you're probably more than ready for me to address the elephant in the room. This piece very obviously has lots and lots and lots of scales. Scales against chords, that's what this piece is all about. So a bit of a change up from the 5-finger close position focus we've mainly had so far in this module. As a counterpoint to those scales, you'll notice we have a much more sparse layering of chords in the left hand, mostly whole notes with some punctuated staccato quarter note bits. A couple of those are actually a little tricky down in the third line, but we'll address those further when we get there. Speaking of, let's get to it and take a look at some of the details of this piece. So it should go without saying, but if you've been practicing your scales, and particularly your white note sharp scales or white note minor scales, you should already be equipped and comfortable with the fingering knowledge necessary to pretty much play all of the scales in this piece without issue. Almost all of them use the standard 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fingering, excluding the 1 F scale down on the third line. So if you've been practicing scales normally, this should be no problem. So I'll play the first C major scale, just like I said, standard fingering, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and back down. Now make sure you get that nice spacing, rhythmic spacing between the bigger quarter notes and the smaller eighth notes. Try and really be clear about the rhythms for these scales. It makes a huge difference in the sound and clarity of the piece. Also, keep an eye out for where those little staccatos come in, and don't be afraid to give a nice little bounce off of them to get the best effect. Like that. Now, for those of you who haven't yet gotten to practicing scales, as I just mentioned, your fingering for these is almost universally going to be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which you can see highlighted here as the finger numbers for the upward moving first scale structure. Now, this is the standard right-hand fingering for almost all white note scales, so it'd be smart to take this opportunity to get accustomed to it, and then to go start practicing the relevant scales, of course. Now, scales are very beneficial for your piano learning in the beginning, not just because they help your hands to get accustomed to moving around the keyboard, but also for the music theory groundwork that they provide to exploit in more advanced situations later on. Now, as I mentioned, a lot of the left hand for this piece consists of long held chords. We do, however, have some staccato iterations of those chords. And for these, just make sure you're getting a nice, clean, firm, but not tight structure, and get a good bounce off of those. Thanks for watching this lesson from Liberty Park Music. If you enjoyed this lesson and learned something from it, do us a favor, hit that like button. And if you really liked it, share it around. Let your friends and family check it out too. If you want to find more lessons like this or explore other piano-related topics, please come visit us at libertyparkmusic.com. We have full piano courses ranging from beginner to more advanced levels, and everything is online and streaming 24/7 so that you can design your music learning around your schedule and learn in the comfort of your own home from a talented roster of professional teachers and musicians. Come check us out.